Hey, this is Anney.
And Samantha.
And welcome to Stuff I Never Told You, production of iHeartRadio. And it is time for another edition of Female First, which means we are once again joined by the adventurous, the amazing Yves. Welcome, Yves.
Hello. Thank you for the welcome.
Thank you for being here. Listeners, if you hear some cicadas, Yves, every time you join us, Yves, we have to ask, where are you? And it looks like you're in the wilderness. You're wearing a dinosaur shirt. I'm loving all of this.
Thank you very much. I was in a dinosaur mood today, so.
Some days the dinosaur mood just strikes and you must wear your dinosaur apparel.
Yes.
So how have you been, Yves? Anything of note?
Has there been anything of note? I'm not sure. Oh, okay. So I went to a craft club recently. And that was new for me because I think, as I've talked to y'all about before, and I have also maybe talked about on the show before, I have gotten back into my art making and my crafting through sewing and bookmaking. So going to a craft club was new for me because I'm not used to crafting in community. But I am used to art making in community, and I love that. I had just never been to a craft specific club. So I went with a new friend, and that was really fun. I got to know the new friend, and I got to meet some other people there. And it was just, I was a little socially anxious beforehand. And then I got there and everybody was so nice. It was super chill. There were, people working on all different sorts of things there. So yeah, I guess that's something recent in my life that may be a little interesting to everyone.
Actually, it's very fitting because I was just telling Anney that we're about to have a future episode about making friends as adults. And I have been curious about the craft clubs because I've seen them at libraries, like knitting days. And I love this idea. So I feel like I need to pick your brain. Maybe we need to have you back on and talk about experiences about that, because I think that's a whole conversation we want to have about this new way of making friendships after COVID. But I love that. And I need more reports because I think I need someone to prep me if I actually ever try to do something like this.
Okay, I can do what I can. That was my first time going, but I'm sure if I get the opportunity to and the timing is right, since I'm all over the place sometimes and I can get back to it, then I would love to do that. But I also have definitely been thinking about making friends post-COVID, and I have been making a lot of them in ways that feel genuine and natural and not forced at all. And it's always been so super smooth. Like I went to an event with a new friend this past weekend as well, and it was another art thing. So art things definitely can help connect the people. They're so broad and so varied, and it's nice because you have something else to focus on with the person. So if like the person doesn't really, it's maybe a little. It's a little awkward because y'all don't really know each other well, then you have something else to focus on too. But then there's still room around the event to have a singular conversation. So yeah, it's a very interesting topic.
Yeah, you're definitely gotten my wheels going because, again, you are also the extrovert, I feel like, of our group. We've talked about this previously when I was like, you genuinely do so good, so well when it comes to being in crowds and being around people. Like your calm looks like confidence, but not in an ego way. That is the most impressive thing I've ever seen in a person that I still think about this conversation that we've had when we've gone out in public. And I'm just like clinging to you for moral support because it's a whole different take. And I love how you interact with people and that you are genuine in all of your interactions, it seems. So
that's very
we're going
sweet.
to have I'm just going to pick your brain in an episode.
Okay, I'm here for it. Just let me know when to come back. I'm here.
I love how so often we're like, we do this with a lot of guests, but especially Yves, we're like, can you help us?
Yes.
We are stressed and we need your meditation.
Oh. Any way I can be of service.
You have become that person to us.
Yes. Well, I'm curious, kind of speaking about things that bring people together. are you a cook, Yves? Do you like to cook?
No, panic ensued when you said, "Are you a cook?" I started to panic immediately because I'm not a cook. I think Samantha. I know Samantha's a great cook. Have I had any of your food, Anney? I don't know if I have, but yeah, I can cook, right? But I'm not a cook. Like, I can make certain things well. I know really well how to put different seasonings together, like just naturally. So I have certain skills that come naturally. Like, I know how to cook for myself, for my family, but I'm not the cook. Like, nobody would come to me and be like, Yves, you got to make this thing for this party or this potluck. Like, you need to make this, you need to make that. And I am also a recipe person. And I feel like, although I can throw things together, oftentimes I'm working off of a recipe and I know what goes. I can ad lib off of a recipe, but usually I have some sort of foundational building block that is like somebody else's. And then I might be able to tinker with that a little bit. So yeah, like, come to my house and I will cook for you and you'll really enjoy the meal. But I wouldn't, like, I'm not going to be the person who is like, if I continue to have a family line, like, all my recipes are going to get passed down. Like, I don't know who's going to be responsible for that because it's not going to be me. But I do enjoy eating.
Okay, yeah. I need to put a stamp because you try to say that I was a good cook. That's exactly how I cook as well. I literally take a recipe and I'm even more stringent. And like, the first time I do it, I will do everything by the book. And then after I taste it, then I will modify how I want it to go. So because Yves, you have been present when I have cooked things, but I would never say I was a cook. I also don't get asked to do things, and everything is like, like stress. And half of it is probably pre-bought. Like, this is the way I do things. I do both. Because I did host a Lunar New Year's event in which, yes, Yves came. It was definitely trial and error. So I don't want that to be confused because I'm like, I tried because I wanted to have friends here, but I'm not a cook. My partner is actually really great at improv and cooking on the fly. Like, it makes me anxious and I hate it. Like, after I eat it, I'll love it. But like, if I give him a recipe or like, this is what I want, and then he starts doing his own thing, I kind of freak out a little bit because I'm like, that's not what I wanted. But he does a good job, so I can't say much. But yeah, like, I'm the same way too, because I'm like, no, this is nothing. This is what I found on a box. This is what I found online. And I am going to use this as my basics and I'm going to follow it to a T. And I will say, Anney, I don't think have you ever cooked for me? I don't know if I've ever eaten your food.
I don't think I have. And it's in part because
I cook a lot.
You cook a lot and your partner cooks a lot. And okay, a part of the issue is I think I'm actually a really good cook and I love cooking. You both didn't meet me in the time when I was baking all the time and I'd bring baked goods to the office all the time. It was awesome. They were very well reviewed, but I got kind of like typecast for a couple of things and it annoyed me. But then I moved out of that phase. But I love cooking, but I kind of have my things that I stick to. I have a small kitchen, so I can't do... If you're going to ask me to get out the food processor, I'm probably not going to get out the food processor. And I don't have the array of spices that you and your partner do, Samantha. Yeah. So I can't... And that's because I'm a single person who lives alone, and I just don't like having a lot of stuff that I might use only once or not that often. And I'm also like concerned about time. And so there are things that I like make once. And I like one time I'd made this amazing turkey. It was so good. I'll never do it again, probably, because it took so much time. So I know I can do it. It's there. But most of the time I kind of make simple things that are very easy. So the reason you haven't had a lot of my cooking is that I feel like your partner has these ideas and I just don't have the like nice ingredients. And, like I can make you something pretty simple and it will be good, but it's not going to be near as good as what you would do.
I would still be down for it. And I know, Anney, you're going to transition to this, but I'm so excited. I just have to put this in here about the person you brought, because I just recently went to New Orleans. And the one thing, if anybody goes traveling to New Orleans, I love the city. And not the only reason, there's so many reasons, but one of the main focuses for me is to get as much New Orleans cuisine as possible. Like, I don't want to drink. I don't want to do anything else but find the best food there. So I'm really pumped about this conversation.
Yes, me too. So let's get into it. Who did you bring for us to talk about today, Yves?
So today we're talking about Lena Richard, which is why Samantha is mentioning New Orleans. She was the first Black woman to publish a New Orleans Creole cuisine cookbook and the first Black American to host a cooking show. So her story is super exciting and will probably make you hungry. So actually, y'all, pause the episode, get a snack if you're not snacking, and then come back and then turn the episode back on. And then you'll be far more prepared for what's to come because you may get hungry during this episode. Okay, so we'll start at the beginning of Lena's life. She was born in New Roads, Louisiana on September 11th, 1892. Her parents were Jean-Pierre Paul and Francois Laurent. And her father was a farmer. Her mother cooked for Nugent Viren. I may be mispronouncing the name, but he was a manufacturer. And his wife's name was Alice, and they had children. And Lena's family was Catholic. And she had 9 siblings. Eventually, their family moved from New Roads to New Orleans, Louisiana. And Lena would start helping her mother cook after school. And so Alice, the wife of Nugent Varin, the family that they were cooking for, Alice noticed Lena's cooking skills. And so when Alice graduated from high school, their family hired Lena as a full-time cook, and Lena would start by making lunch for them, and then she started doing more dinners and events. And Alice ended up sending Lena to a cooking school in New Orleans, and then Miss Farmer's School of Cookery in Boston. That was a school that was founded in 1902. And at the time, Lena was the only Black woman in the program. And here's a quote from Lena that she later said in a newspaper interview. "When I got way up there, I found out in a hurry they can't teach me much more than I know. I learned things about new desserts and salads, but when it comes to cooking meats, stews, soups, sauces, and such dishes, we Southern cooks have Northern cooks beat by a mile. That's not big talk. That's honest truth." That's the end of the quote. When I was rereading that quote just now, I was like, wow, she's starting North-South beef in this quote. Because I don't know if she was prompted to say, do you think Southern is better than Northern? But it's really funny.
When it comes to food, people get really defensive and territorial, and like a lot of pride comes out. Like, for the fact that I've seen not only in the like North-South thing, I've also seen like the beef between when it comes to barbecue, like statewide, like people are, and I like, she definitely threw down the gauntlet with that statement.
Mm-hmm. And fair too, also, like there are fair arguments for why some regional variations of things are better than others. I've had my own complaints in traveling, so.
And I feel
we're
like
getting into dangerous territory. I love it.
With the love, like I will specifically go to New Orleans dreaming about specific foods, and that can only be done well in New Orleans. And even though I'm not from there, I have opinions about beignets and where you need to go, even though I'm not from there. So again, I think she has the right to say those things.
For sure. And also, like, it's also nice to hear in that quote her acknowledging that, like, her actual experience of cooking is just as valuable as the information that she was getting from her school studies. Like, I appreciated that she acknowledged that, especially because she was in a setting where she was like the only Black woman, but she wasn't, where oftentimes the community around her, around cooking, around culinary arts could denigrate Black people or say that it was a skill that we just had innately. It was just part of being Black, was to, like, be a good cook. So it could, you know, she didn't clearly wasn't discouraged by that. I'm not exactly sure how much of that she faced interpersonally, but that definitely was the vibe of the day. That was the culture of the day. So that was definitely nice to see. And I like how she said that's not big talk. Like, I'm just spitting facts here. Okay.
Just saying.
So here's a quote. And I guess, Anney, you'll tell me if I'm saying this dish name wrong. It's French. But okay, so here's another quote from Lena. I cooked a couple of my dishes, like Creole gumbo and my chicken vol au vent, and they go crazy, almost trying to copy down what I say. I think maybe I'm pretty good, so someday I'd write it down myself. As you can see, she's already thinking about documenting and recording her recipes. So this inspiration started to happen while she was in school. After she finished studying at the school, she went back to New Orleans and she kept working for the family that she was working for before, but then she was starting to become more known as a great cook in the city. And she ended up starting a catering business where she mostly serves like high profile, high society white residents. And in 1914, she married a man named Percival Richard. And 7 years later, they had their only child, Marie. And by the time Lena was 28, she had left working for the family and she started running a shop out of her home. It was called the Sweet Shop. And in it, she sold sandwiches, red beans and rice, and watermelon salad. This is just one of many entrepreneurial adventures that she would have in her lifetime. Also, according to census records, Lena might have worked as a home ec instructor at a Black public school in New Orleans. But Alice, the person who really believed in Lena's cooking abilities, ended up dying in 1931. But Lena did stay in touch with that family and she continued her cooking. So in 1931, Lena also became the head chef of the Orleans Club, which was a social club that was mostly white women. And when she was there, Lena made food for luncheons. And through that work, she started getting more opportunities for catering work. In 1936, Lena started hosting cooking demonstrations for all Black audiences. And in 1937, she left her position at the Orleans Club. And that same year, she opened the Lena Richard Catering School, another one of her entrepreneurial ventures. It was the first cooking school ran by a Black woman in New Orleans. And it was the first school that was made specifically for the instruction of Black people. First cooking school that was made specifically for the instruction of Black people. And Lena said this, quote, "My purpose in opening a cooking school was to teach men and women the art of food preparation and serving in order that they would become capable of preparing and serving food for any occasion, and also that they might be in a position to demand higher wages." So she clearly had an eye on what was available to Black people, how she could help with the knowledge that she had and the resources that she had to bring other people up along with her. So I know, I mentioned earlier how a lot of the people that she was cooking for were these like wealthier, more upper class white folks, but she definitely also had an eye on like how other Black people, other Black cooks were getting opportunities too. So Lena continued doing her demonstration for audiences of all kinds of races. And back to what we spoke about a little earlier, when she was at Fannie Farmer, that cooking school, she was dreaming about writing a cookbook. And so at this time, In the 1930s, her daughter Marie helped her prepare her cookbook. It took them a couple of years. Lena would tell the recipes and the cooking tips to Marie, and Marie would write them down and give them to a typist. And Lena held cooking demos so that she could pay the printer to create the book. And in 1939, Lena was able to send her book, Lena Richard's Cookbook, because make no mistake about whose it was, to the printer. And she went on a book tour, and food writers like Clementine Paddleford and James Beard gave the book positive reviews. People across the country were interested in Lena's work and recipes. And she wanted to promote the cookbook in the Northeast, the place she had.
Oh.
Yeah. She had talked a little bit about earlier. So she took a, quote, suitcase bulging with 10 pounds of dried shrimp, pure cane syrup, Louisiana shelled pecans, or pecans, as my grandma would say, and old-fashioned brown sugar. So she was like, I'm going to come prepared. I don't know what they have up there, but I'm going to make sure I have what I need to show these people what I'm about in my cooking. When she was up there, she met food journalist Clementine Paddleford, who had a column at the New York Herald Tribune, and she cooked scale fish for Clementine. There's a description of what scale fish is if you want to go look it up. Clementine wrote an article that was called Cook from New Orleans Shows Northerners Tricks of Trade. So, yeah, the North-South thing was happening a lot, clearly. And Lena sold 700 copies that were priced at $2 each in 1 month. The next year, in 1940, Lena got a contract to publish her cookbook as the New Orleans Cookbook. It had an introduction in this version by the writer Gwen Bristow, who was a white writer. And it didn't have the picture that it had of her in the book that she published privately that had a picture of her in it. This one didn't have a picture of her in it anymore. So it was kind of like, you know, it was clearly being sanitized a little bit, like her name was taken off of the book. So it was less emphasis on Lena the cook. Like, I'm the one who gathered these recipes. I'm the one who went to school. I'm the one who's been, you know, doing all this research and making sure to document it. I'm the one who's the cook. It was less emphasis on that and more just like, okay, this is Creole cuisine. This is New Orleans cuisine. And this is what's being showcased in this book. And the author is kind of secondary. But that said, it was still a major publisher that published her book. And it was sweet that Lena dedicated the book to Alice. She said in the dedication, Mrs. Nugent B. Varian, whose kindness, advice, and assistance has made this book possible. So it's clear how much Alice's uplifting of her work and encouraging of her to go further in her cooking career left an imprint on her so much that she decided to put it in print. So the book included traditional recipes and some of Lena's own recipes. And Lena, unlike a lot of other people who were publishing books about recipes from the region, Lena acknowledged the Black cooks who inspired her and New Orleans cuisine in general. And for a short time after the book was published, Lena went to Garrison, New York. She did a 1-month cooking trial at the Bird and Bottle Inn. And then she got the position of head chef there after that 1-month trial, because later on there was one of the proprietors who was like, she did a lot for us in a short amount of time. So she was well regarded there. And there she was known for her shrimp soup Louisiane, which was a shrimp and vegetable bisque that had bay Tabasco peppers in it. And in 1941, she went back to New Orleans and she opened Lena's Eatery. And Lena's likely closed down sometime during World War II. But a couple of years later, in 1943, Elizabeth Reynolds, who was the manager of this place called the Travis House in Colonial Williamsburg, Virginia, hired Lena to be the head chef. And Lena stayed there for about 2 years. And the Colonial Williamsburg Corporate Archives does have 2 notebooks of diners' reviews at Travis House. And one of the reviews, for instance, said, Lena is the queen of oysterina. And if you go through and read some of the other notes that the diners left about her oysters specifically, because her oysters were the hit thing there, if you go and read some of those notes, they're like, it does really make her seem like a celebrity. And it's clear, even though the notes are about the food, that Lena herself made an impact on them. Because they were like, "Dear Lena, your oysters." One of them said something along the lines of, "These were the best oysters I've ever had. Nay, like the best meal I've ever had." So, you know, they knew that Lena was doing the work, and they noted that they appreciated the cooking. But still, Lena left Williamsburg and went back to New Orleans eventually. And she restarted her catering business with her daughter, Marie. And by 1946, she had started a business selling packaged dinners in pints, quarts, and 5 and 10 gallon containers. And those were shipped across the country and even down to Panama, which was pretty impressive because there weren't, you know, at the time, TV dinners and frozen dinners weren't really like super huge yet. This business that she was doing was a partnership with Borderline Fine Foods. And Lena would sell things like shrimp Creole, turtle soup, and yeah, that she continued to do that business too. And in 1949, she opened Lena Richard's Gumbo House, where she served like 54 gallons of gumbo every week. And she served other things as well. But the diners at her restaurant were of all races. It was a family business. So her son-in-law, her husband, and her daughter were involved in running the Gumbo House. And oftentimes it would get full after Sunday Mass because diners would go to Sunday Mass and they would go there. But all of her success led her to get her own cooking show, which is pretty cool. It was called Lena Richard's New Orleans Cookbook. So that aired on Tuesdays and Thursdays on, I think it was like a 1-year-old TV station, WDSU-TV in New Orleans. It was sponsored by Wholesome Bread, and it featured a dish every day. And this made her the first Black woman to have her own TV show, her own cooking show. And most of her viewers were like middle and upper class women. But you have to also remember that at the time, TV sets were also just getting more popular. And this was a time of exponential growth. So in February of 1949, there were about 3,000 TV sets in New Orleans. And then the next year, there were around like 18,000 TV sets in New Orleans. So TV itself was just getting popular. So it's really cool to know that Lena had a cooking show on at the time, and the network knew that they wanted a cooking show and they came to her for it. Unfortunately, the footage of her television show is lost. I really would love to see it. There are a couple of pictures, but yeah, you can't watch all of the episodes, unfortunately. But her TV show and her frozen food business were doing well. But unfortunately, on November 26, 1950, Lena was at her restaurant. There was a patron who had flown in from LA and wanted to order every item on the menu. So it was a very hard work day. Lena cooked everything. And at the end of the day, super late, she was like, "I don't really feel well." She went back home. And the next morning, she died of a heart attack in her home. She was 58 years old. And the family did keep the Gumbo House open until 1958. And of course, lots of Black cooks with New Orleans cuisine, came in her wake. And so she definitely left a mark on everybody. But her legacy in itself is definitely really pretty inspirational, interesting. And she did a lot of different things in her time. So I'm happy that I could share her story today.
Yes. And thanks as always for sharing it. Both of us, Samantha and I, were very excited about this one. And she was so entrepreneurial. She was doing so much stuff. And she was doing it early, like frozen food. Before the 1950s, she was ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Like TV, a show, she was like ahead of the game. I love that she was recognizing the work that she had done, but also the work that other Black cooks had done, like making sure she just sounds like, and you can see it in quotes from her, but about her that other food writers have done. She sounds like a person who, we saw it immediately with these Northern cooks. She had opinions.
Mhm.
She knew her worth. She knew what the work was. And I love it. I think it's fantastic.
It is.
Mm.
I love everything when it comes to like the depth of history that New Orleans has anyway. And then, of course, there's the dark history, but like she persevered in such a way that really established what Southern cuisine is. And we know it is like the basis of Black community and Black women in general, and being able to create this amazing dish in a culture that's so different. That it's not the South, like Creole and gumbo and such is not a Southern dish. It is a New Orleans dish. Like it is
Mhm.
Louisiana specific. And it's such a like an amazing array of like technique that you don't think about. But when it comes down to it, like it's hard. And it's almost, if you are not, either you're really good at it or you're not.
Mhm.
It's one of those things, it seems. And I did have to look in because I love, like when we went to New Orleans recently, I had to go to Dookie Chase because it's been
Mhm.
around since 1941. And the cooking, I'm like, this is Creole. This is what I want. And I was trying to see if there was any link there. There apparently isn't, but they did kind of overlap. I wonder if there's any rivalry that they don't talk about or something.
I'm not sure about that.
Because she came, I think Dookie Chase, like I said, started, I want to say 1941, 1945 or something. So I don't know how big it got, the restaurant in itself, or how big Leah Chase was at that point in time. So she was younger. I think she was like 20 something at that point. So there may not been any overlap, but I don't think New Orleans is that big.
Yeah, but also considering like how friendly and like hospitable folks from New Orleans
Right.
are, I'm not sure
Right.
if it would have been like, it's all family and it's all love versus
Right.
any sort of rivalry.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. But I am wondering though, Samantha, because you do like New Orleans cuisine so much, what food you enjoy from New Orleans cuisine that you would have wanted to taste, Lena, if Lena made it?
Like there's no doubt I would want all of it. The oysters, which I am a huge fan of oysters, it sounds like something that I needed to taste. But of course the gumbo, because I feel like in every type of cuisine, there's a base. Like you start with something because there's a comparison. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And so like to me, I would want either that, because I feel like if she had the gumbo house, she obviously is a queen of gumbo. Like she knows what she's doing there, as well as the fact that like if people are bragging that her oysters, it's the best meal of their life. So it would be a toss up between those two. But yeah, when I'm in New Orleans, I definitely have to have at least a good gumbo, some type of fish dish, like probably like, a catfish dish of sorts, and a po' boy.
Mhm.
Those are the things I have to have when I'm there.
Love that.
And beignets. I'm fat. I love beignets.
You were right, Yves. I hope listeners got a snack before this.
I need it. I need something.
Luckily, I'm going to a restaurant with my mom that
Aw.
has gumbo, so maybe I can get some there.
Yes,
I
as a
do want to
tribute.
say, yes, my mom loves gumbo as well, so it'll be fantastic. Going back to what you were talking about, Samantha, Dr. Jessica B. Harris, who's big in the food world, is a big food historian and writer, who has some quotes that you can find about Lena Richard. She's kind of famous for saying the South is north of here about New Orleans. So it is a very specific cuisine. It is a very distinct thing. And I'm sure, like, I can only imagine when she's packing her bags to go to the north and like,
All that food.
make these dishes. If you've never had something like that, I'm almost jealous that you like that first time. Oof,
Yeah.
Oof.
It is life changing. Like I think about my first encounters in New Orleans, and I'm like, I need this again. Like you think I'm kidding? Like people would say, oh, because New Orleans also has become, has always been a jazz town, like a little more lively and fun and like festive, and people go to drink and such. I'm like, I don't care about any of the alcohol. Give me all the food. I don't have stomach room for drinks. I just need the food.
Fair.
True. I mean, The Simpsons has an entire episode that many people have mimicked
Yes.
about that. So I don't think you're alone. This was also really timely because we were talking recently about PBS and cooking shows on PBS. Not that was what was happening here, but like that, I don't think people realize now that we can just go online.
Yes.
But how important that was, that you would have somebody who could kind of be with you and talk to you and talk you through things. It was a very early form of a parasocial relationship for a lot of people.
Right.
And I think that is something we shouldn't forget in this conversation, is that was probably really powerful for a lot of people to have that.
Yes. And I do remember coming across at least one quote from someone who reminisced about watching the show. So even who actually watched it during the time. And so we don't have it anymore recorded because it was live and documentation archiving was different back then. And so unfortunately that is lost. But like, you can still hear a little bit about or read a little bit about the experience that people had watching it and what they learned from it and what they got from it. So at least there's that, that kind of secondary source there to learn a little bit more about Lena's cooking.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a bummer it's lost, but I'm glad at least some of that is preserved.
Well, her book's still out.
I
feel like this is a challenge, each of us. Maybe we should all do a dish and come and talk about it.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, wow. That would be fun.
I wonder if some of those ingredients are available, though.
Yeah.
I actually enjoy reading cookbooks. So
Yes.
I'd be so into it.
I'm going to pick the thing that requires the least preparation, just so y'all know. If there's a salad in there, that's all me.
You know what?
But a salad could mean anything.
That's true. That's actually very true.
You think you got it.
There's a raw salad somewhere.
I don't think so. Not in Creoles.
Dang it, you're right.
Can I find lobsters?
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, maybe we'll revisit that in the future. But for now, thank you so much as always, Yves. It's always a delight. Where can the good listeners find you?
Y'all can find me by going straight to my website, which is yvesjeffcoat.com. I will spell that. That is YVESJEFFCOAT.com. You can sign up for my newsletter there. You can also go to my Instagram. That is @NotApologizing. And then you can go to all of the other episodes of Sminty, in which we're talking about female first, other women in history who were pioneering and had super cool accomplishments. You can learn about their histories.
Yes. So listeners, please go do that if you haven't done it already. Can't wait till next time, Yves. In the meantime, if you would like to contact us, you can. You can email us at hello@stuffInevertoldyou.com. You can find us on Blue Sky at Mom Stuff Podcast, or on Instagram and TikTok at Stuff I Never Told You. We're also on YouTube. We have a new place for merch. You can go to Cotton Bureau and just search us out. Find us there. And we have a book. You can get wherever you get your books. Thanks as always to our super producer, Christina, our executive producer, Maya, and our contributor, Joey.
Thank you.
And thanks to you for listening. Stuff I Never Told You is a production by iHeartRadio. For more podcasts from iHeartRadio, you can check out the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows.